Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you, another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks, sampler video series videos I would do for the while. Go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff, I drink stuff, then, folks, I'm going to talk about stuff. There we go. I'm going to let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not going to lie. I mean, the movie's about to drop, so they got to get those tie-ins in where they can, right? But we'll get to that. Folks, it's a super simple format. I'm going to go over there, I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm yammering on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I am inside my truck. And whilst I'm doing all that, folks, well, I'm wearing grody work clothes. Typically, when I'm inside the truck and I'm wearing grody work clothes, that means I was on my way home from work and I found some shit to review for you. That's not exactly the case today. Well, kind of is, I guess. But it happened yesterday. I got off work yesterday, and I knew I wanted to pick up some basic supplies, so I decided to hop on out to Walmart, as I've been known to do. And whenever I'm out shopping, I was trying to keep my eyes open for any potential items that, might be worth reviewing. And I'm making my way through the soda section, and I see this thing that I had never seen before, or even heard about before. And as soon as I saw it and got a little bit closer, I knew that it needed reviewing, and it needed reviewing by this guy right here. So, what am I trying for you today, folks? What are we doing here? Why am I reviewing it? Well, folks, it happens to be, from Fanta, Beetlejuice Haunted Apple flavor. Yeah, okay. So, yes, the long-awaited sequel to Beetlejuice is going to be coming out fairly soon at the time that I'm doing this. And so we are seeing these tie-ins now. I did some Keebler fudge rounds, which were Beetlejuice themed, and apparently Fanta decided to go over there and get in with it. I'm here for it, man. I mean, why not, right? So apparently it is an official Beetlejuice movie partner. And of course we got the Beetlejuice. And apparently it is a spiced apple soda naturally flavored with other natural flavors. Okay. This sounds awesome. I like apple sodas, so let's get a thing for this thing and kind of do it like that, and do it like that. Ha 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 ha! It's showtime! Yeah, I had to get that in. Let's give it a go. Fanta. I like Fanta. I've reviewed plenty of Fantas over the years doing the show. It has an apple flavor, or an apple smell for sure, but different than other apple sodas I've had. Ooh, that's very different. Almost like a candied apple. Yeah, there's like an extra kind of sweetness to it, but there's also a little tinge of something. Almost a little bit apple cidery. It's sort of like the flavor almost reminds me of a blend between like a caramel apple, where you've got, a little bit of tartness, but then also the sweetness on top of it. But then there's also this underlying spice kind of element to it. And that reminds me more of like an apple cider. And that's a really cool combination. I've never had that in an apple soda before. Anything even really that close to it. Closest thing I could think of off the top of my head, there was that Alani Nu Halloween flavor, Witch's Brew, which I have reviewed, by the way. It's still on the channel. That had like a candy apple flavor, but this is different. Way, way different. For one thing, the apple flavor isn't very tart. It's more sweet than anything, but it still has a little bit of a bite to it. But then sort of where the tanginess would be, if you're thinking sort of like a green apple, where you'd have that like, somewhat sour, tangy flavor. Instead, there's this kind of sort of like, again, almost like sort of an apple cider kind of flavor, like, again, sort of a spiced kind of thing. That's really cool. It's nice, it's cool, it's refreshing. I do like Fanta a lot, and never had an apple Fanta I've never had an apple flavored Fanta, but I have to say, this is a really unique, and I get what they're going for with it, what with the Beetlejuice aspect and everything like that, tie it in a little bit, make it sort of familiar with those fall kind of Halloween style flavors. That's really neat. Because like I've reviewed like the Mountain Dew apple soda. I've had plenty of Manzanita Souls. I really like that one. And various other ones. I think Mundell or something like that. I'm a big fan of apple soda when I can get it. And it's really cool that Fanta knew coming into this, not only were they going to want to tie in with, the subject matter with the flavor, but at the same time, I think they were very aware of, what other apple sodas are out there and what they typically do. And I think they wanted to shy away from that a little bit, It's still a nice, crisp soda. One of the nice things about apple sodas in general is that they have that nice, that crisp, kind of refreshing sort of flavor to them. This definitely has that. But then again, it just has these layers to it that, definitely sort of, for me, tie in with, again, sort of the Halloween fall season. And I like this a lot. Yeah, I will say, if I had any critique to it, it's just that because you do have that sort of candied flavor, you do lose a little bit of the apple flavor, So, but there's still a noticeable apple flavor, but again, it's more that spiced apple, more along the lines of like an apple cider. So, honestly, it's really surprising to me that like there hasn't been just like a straight like sort of apple cider soda. You'd think that would be a thing. I know that, you can get like alcoholic ciders and stuff. I think I even reviewed one at one point. Yeah, I know I did years ago. But no, this is really cool. I love what they did with this. I love the flavors. I love how intelligent it is. Like, it's one thing to just come up with a new flavor of soda, but to go over there and do it in such a way that it seems well thought out, that's a whole other thing, and it doesn't happen nearly enough. This definitely feels well thought out, to not only theme in, but then again, to also theme in with sort of a season. So, I think that's damn good. But, two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? I have to go with yes and yes. I think in both instances, I'm definitely a big supporter of this. I'm not going to say it's the best apple soda I've had. Manzanita Soul definitely immediately comes to mind as being sort of my go-to. But it is definitely one of the most, if not the most unique apple sodas I've had. And again, I love the flavors that are at play. I love, just the tie-in aspect to it, but not just, they didn't just go over there and throw, Michael Keaton on a bot or on a can and say, fuck it, that's it, They didn't do that. They went over there and they're like, let's have the, the flavor kind of tie in with sort of the theme of everything that this sort of goes along with. And I think that's really smart, and I think it came up with a really good drink. At the end of the day, I'll give you extra points for the idea, but it still needs to taste good. And for me, personally, I would absolutely love it if they went over there and made this a seasonal soda for Fanta. I would love to see this come out every year around fall. Fall starts up, you start getting the apple ciders, more readily available and stuff. You start becoming more of a out front purchase kind of item. And I would love to see something like that with this, because I think this is really good. Maybe you could go over there and tie it in with, some other flavors or something like that. Yeah, just saying. But I think that's really good. Hell, you could have it alongside the Mountain Dew Voodoo. That's their Halloween-themed Mountain Dew. And if I'm recommending it, the thing that I would really emphasize with this is that it's not just a cash grab tie-in. I'm sure that there's that element to it. But again, this is very clearly a well-thought-out soda. And the flavors that are at play really work nicely. It still manages, still manages to be a nice, crisp, refreshing soda. But at the same time, just adding in those different elements and managing to get away with it. Managing to not only have that sort of, slightly caramel apple kind of, sort of thing to it, but then also to have in the spiced aspect as well, and not have them be in conflict. I would definitely recommend it. I think if you run into this one, I'd say give it a shot. I'm sure it's going to be a limited edition flavor. Again, maybe, seasonal thing I'm saying, but I'm not in charge of Fanta. If I was, I'd have a shit ton of money. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, five things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year. Folks, go over there themselves a truly Showtime-tastic rest of your life. Because, again, Beetlejuice, I haven't seen the original Beetlejuice in at least a few years now, but definitely was one of my favorite movies growing up. And I would imagine it still holds up extremely well. Final two things. Number one, try to bring some positivity into the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what you do if you can't do it all the time, I know I can't do it all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. And when we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there whenever possible. Take a step back. Try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives. Hopefully, do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, what's your opinion on Beetlejuice? Are you excited for the sequel? You know, were you a fan of the original back in the day? Was it something you weren't that into? I'm kind of surprised. Like, Beetlejuice obviously still has, you know, a very dedicated following. But it, at least in terms of pop culture expansion, didn't quite seem to manage to hit the same way that Nightmare Before Christmas did. And granted, there's, you know, obviously certain differences that play into that. But, like, in terms of some of the themes and the styling and everything, like, you know, you'd kind of think. But, anyway.